Hello, and welcome to MIS 769, Big Data Analytics for Business. I'm super excited to be teaching you this class for a multitude of reasons. Dr. Lee, the professor who's taught this in the past, has asked me, and we worked together as a team to revamp this course. And I think the changes that we've made are really going to provide you, the student, a lot of benefits. One of the things that we did this semester, which I'll go into greater detail in a second, is we've included LLMs, NLP, and a lot more true business data analytics, true from the real world business analytics, not from some textbook from 5 years ago. So that's what I'm so excited to relay to you. My name is Richard Young. You don't have to call me Dr. Young. I don't have a PhD yet. I'm a graduate student. I have a master's in data analytics. I work full-time as a senior data scientist for United Health Group, or Optum West. Before we get too much more into the class, I want to cover the syllabus. Going over the syllabus, it's vital that you understand the moving parts of this course, because I teach different than traditional teachers you might have had. So let's go over the syllabus. Hopefully that's large enough that you see it. Again, welcome to MIS 769, Big Data for Business. My name is Richard Young. This is an asynchronous course, so you can watch the videos and do the homework anytime within that assigned week. I try to release videos on Monday, homework on Monday, Tuesday, everything that needs to be done at the start of the week. Generally, you'll have a discussion that's due on Thursday, and you have to post a follow-up on the weekend and maybe some homework on the weekend. So everything's online. If you need to have office hours with me, it's by appointment. Generally, Mondays and Tuesdays are bad days for me. However, every other day, and I can do Mondays and Tuesdays just with a little bit of notice. But generally, every other day, I'm available. Just shoot me an email or text me or call me, and we can set up a Zoom meeting, and we can meet for as long as you need. We can figure out how to either fix your code, we can give you advice, whatever I need to do to make you successful. So there's my email, ryoung@unlv.edu. Again, I know it's not a standard email, but it's much shorter and much easier, ryoung@unlv.edu. If you go to About Me on the page, right here, my cell phone number is on here. Tomorrow it'll be released and you'll be able to see my cell phone number. But you can feel free to text me anytime between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. or call me. Text generally works better, but either way. So this class focuses on big data analytics, concept, tools, and methods within the business environment. It explores big data principles, information, technology, innovations, and organizations. So in the past, when Dr. Lee taught this class, we focused a lot on Hadoop, Spark, Pig. These are cluster-based type of processing. And it used to be, those were, they still are. They're still super important concepts and ideas. We'll go over them, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on them. Now, why? Just today, Microsoft became the most valuable publicly traded corporation. It surpassed Apple. Now, why did Microsoft overtake Apple with a higher validation, with a higher, interest in people investing in it? What was a catalyst to that? The catalyst was AI, and the catalyst was big data. Apple, for good or bad, has been slowly lagging behind on acquiring and moving towards, LLMs, generative AI, things like this. Microsoft was intelligent and made a really good business decision to invest in OpenAI, into ChatGPT. That investment, now they've been able to integrate a Copilot into the operating system. They've been able to integrate ChatGPT into Azure and many other things. Investors see this as a future of business data. That is why we have kind of rewritten this class. So what do you need to be successful in this class? Well, you need some type of programming experience. This class says MIS 740, 768, DA 721, DA 651. But let's break that down for a second. Basically, as long as you kind of know how to program, have the basic concepts of Python or Ruby or Rust or any of these programming languages, and you have a basic understanding of, let's say, databases. It doesn't have to be phenomenal, just a basic understanding of databases. You have a basic understanding of a computer, file systems, you're going to be fine. We'll figure out how to get you to the goalpost. I'm not the type of professor that wants everyone to kind of do the same thing over and over again. Each one of you come here with a different skill set. I want you to use your skill set. If you're a phenomenal programmer, do more programming related projects. If you're proficient in like Tableau and visualization and art, do that. Now why? Because I know at least 50 other data scientists at my company. At least. There's thousands of them, but I personally know 50 of them. And you know what? We all have different skill sets. We all have different tools. We all approach a problem slightly differently. As long as we get to the goalpost and our results are the same, or we present information to management that is valuable, that's great. There's that type of diversity that allows us to be stronger. Okay? You look at a basketball team, every player has their strength and weakness. We're not trying to make these cookie cutter players that all do the same thing. No. Some players might run faster. Some players might be, better at catching. Some might be taller. They all have their strength. I really hope to bring your strength out in this class. Okay? So as long as you can basically program, a little bit of database understanding, and a little bit of computer understanding, you'll be fine. Now, why have we changed this class? Again, as I stated, a lot of the big data generation, a lot of the money, a lot of the future of business big data and analytics, it's going to NLP, natural language processing. It's going to go to these GPT models, these large language models. BERT, T5, OpenAI, all these things have revolutionized what is possible in business. And I want to enable you to use these tools to better your resume, better your skills, and if you're in a job, to advance faster than your coworkers. I want you to be knowledgeable and be able to get results using these tools. So now, we're going to use Google Colabs, which is an online Python, GPU programming interface. We're also going to use Hugging Face. Now, I'm not going to force anybody to use either one of these. If you want to use Visual Studio Code, you can. If you want to use another IDE, you can. Any program to complete your assignments, I guess within reason, I'm fine with. Last semester when I taught another class, we had students do some of the whole homework in R instead of Python. They felt more comfortable. That's fine. I want you to get to the results. Now, some of the models and some of the programming examples that we do, they don't exist in R. They don't exist in other languages. So that's why it's easy for me to support you and easy for me to help you grow when we use Colab and Hugging Face. We'll set up these accounts. Both of them are free. They're all online. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a Mac. You can do it on a PC. It doesn't matter. They're websites. Okay? I operate this class as real life as possible. So now, what does it mean to operate a class as real life as possible? Well, it means that I'm not going to sit and quiz you and make you pick up a book and know everything in that book. In the last 5 years, as a data scientist in my job, my boss or my boss's boss or anybody I've ever worked with has never come to me with a quiz and say, you have to take this quiz right now. It just hasn't happened. It might happen one day, but in the last 5 years, it's never happened. So I'm not the type of professor that's going to quiz you and expect you to know things on a quiz. That's just not how I operate. I don't think it translates to beneficial long-term skill increase. So how am I going to judge you as a student? How am I going to evaluate you? That's a fair question. I'm going to evaluate you by showing you some code. I'll give you a demo of how I use a code. then allowing, giving you the code, having you modify it to get to your results. Why? That's what happens in the business world. Sometimes you'll walk into another person's project and you'll be expected to pick up that project and drive it home. Sometimes you'll have a new request that says, hey, I need this accomplished. When you get those new requests, there's already sample codes out there in the world. So you pick up that sample code, you kind of look at it, you kind of change it, and you get the results. That's how I evaluate you. To me, that shows skill in this type of domain. It doesn't matter if you know 400 definitions and the whole theoretical thing. I want to be able to see you get results. So that is how I evaluate students. Additionally, when I say this class is like real life business world as possible, I have 2 big projects and they're due on the last day of the month. So if that's a Saturday, it's due on a Saturday. If it's a Wednesday, it's due on a Wednesday. I think one of them is actually Easter. Okay. So you have a homework assignment due on that day. You can upload it 2 days before, a week before, it doesn't matter. But me, in my job, I logged on New Year's to work because there's end of the year things that I had to achieve or had to do on New Year's. Granted, I didn't work 8 or 10 hours. I worked a few hours on New Year's, but I had to log in on New Year's. Because in the real world, sometimes at the end of the month, there's a lot of closing, there's a lot of change, a lot of things we have to do. Sometimes you can automate it, sometimes you can't. So there's 2 projects due at the end of the month. And not this month, but just in general. So we'll go into that. I run this class much more like a business than I do like an academic course. So let's get just learning outcomes. Basically, the first 3 of these are just kind of teaching you general concepts, general core ideas of big data, general concepts of NLPs. Then right around the midterm, we switch around. And let me explain kind of in my mind what happens. So I'm a data scientist. I'm a full-time employee data scientist. So in my world, the world's broken out like this. You have past data and you have predictions. And in my first lecture, I'm going to go all this past data you can summarize, you can get sales, you can do taxes. That's all past data. You have future predictions. How much money am I going to make next quarter? What is a sentiment, or what is likely to be happening next quarter? What's the turnover rate going to be in 3 years? What's the value of something going to be next? That's all predictions. Okay, so that's the way this class is broken up. The first kind of before the midterm, in theory-ish, it's kind of all past data, big data terms, NLP, summarizing, things like that. After the midterms is where things get really fun, in my opinion. That's where we start investigating generative AI. Can I give you a document? Can you code it up somehow? Can I ask questions of that document? Interesting. We'll talk about transformers. Transformers, there was just some new paper I was reading that talks about how transformers can predict the time of death of a person better than any other known model. And it's really weird because transformers are generally used for languages. So, this is a very important topic to be able to predict things. That's kind of how the class breaks down. Let's go a little bit more in detail. So there's 4 texts. And before you say anything, I know that's a lot of books. I bought all the books personally with my money, not UNLV or anything else. And I recommend buying used books. Okay, nobody ever reads computer books for most of the time. Just go to Amazon if you physically want to own the books. Go to Amazon and just buy used books, or just go to Google and type it in. I think all 4 books cost me right around $50 total. Most of the books were $15 to $20 each, so they weren't expensive. You buy them new, they're like $70. So I wouldn't recommend buying them new because they're just really expensive. So try to buy the books used if you can, if that's something you're into. Save money. Now, the books aren't required. I'm hoping that my text, even though it says required, I know that's a college thing, some things can't always change. I'm hoping that my lectures provide you enough information that you don't need the books. Now, some of the books provide valuable information. Now, let's talk about it for a second. So, Big Data Fundamentals. This is kind of the order that we're going to go over the books in the course, just to give you an update. This book's going to talk a lot about works like sharding or MapReduce or, traditional big data fundamental ideas, RAID, how do we do clustering? Okay. So it's a good foundation book. Dr. Lee said that a lot of the students might have this book already. If you do, that's great. Blueprints for Text Analysis. So this book has a lot of little code snippets that I love. It goes into NLP, it goes into summarization, it talks a little about how. If you have a corpus, if you have a chunk of text, how can we analyze it? How can we cluster it? How can we categorize it? So that's the general purpose of this book. It is a good book. And like I said, the little blueprints it has in there are phenomenal. Then right around the midterm, we're going to go over to this book. This book gives you a very broad understanding of what large language models are. How does ChatGPT work? How does Google Gemini work? What is BERT? What is a T5 model? Okay, so this book right here gives you a really good 10,000 foot overview of what LLMs are, what they can do, maybe how to fine tune them. And it just gives you a really good foundational understanding of LLMs. From there, we're going to go lightly into this book. This book's a little heavy in terms of technical side. But transformers are fundamentally or revolutionizing the way that we process data. So we have to talk about transformers, and this book is related back to Hugging Face, where we can use different models. So that's kind of the way they break down. Again, to recap, you don't have to buy the books. If you can find the PDFs through like Amazon, do that if you need to, or through Kindle, or however you can get the PDFs, that works. If you have questions, I set up an office hour, we can go over something in greater detail. Okay, if you want to buy them, they're all great books, so we can do that. Now, the way this class is laid out is everything's a percentage of the total. We have 15-ish class discussions, about 10 homework assignments. If they get overwhelming, I'll pull back. 2 big projects and 2 exams. And don't worry, the exams aren't going to be killer. You're not going to die on it. That's why they're worth 15% of the grade. I am going to give extra credit. The extra credit's going to be every week. It's, I think, like 10 points. It's a small thing. But the extra credit would basically just be reading an article and writing something about it. So let's go down here just a little bit more in detail. So the class discussions. I'll provide you a prompt, and then by Thursday, you'll have to reply to that prompt. You can Google and do research on it. You can just post from your knowledge. You can post from the book. The prompts are there to make you think outside the box. My prompts aren't there to make sure you read the book. In my opinion, that's dumb. My prompts are to make you think outside the box. Now, why is that important? Because Hugging Face might not be around 10 years. Because Collabs might not be around 10 years. Because what I teach you is going to change. So I can't teach you static information and expect it to be valuable to you. So my prompts are there to say, hey, if I take this type of data or this type of model and use it in this way, what could happen? I never thought about that. Or if this happens to this, what could be the problem? One of my prompts is, can machines use humor? And if they are, how does a machine know what's appropriate versus inappropriate humor? I have a lot of prompts that are there. They're not necessarily always technical prompts, but they're there to kind of, hey, let me Google, can machines do humor? How, to make you kind of think and investigate on your own. They don't generally take more than 10, 15 minutes. And then the reply doesn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes. I beg you to be professional with others. You can disagree with students. I don't have a problem with that. When you do your reply, but please just be professional. Okay? The homework assignments. Again, I kind of went over the homework assignments. I'll make a video. I'll do the homework assignment maybe with one of my data sets or a data set I have. And then I'll say, hey, now change this. Make it better. Or, hey, use this data set. What results do you get? Those are the type of homework assignments I enjoy. I don't think, giving you something completely out of the blue and expecting you to solve it is realistic. We have a research or idea proposal. This is just, I don't know, between 3 and 5 page, 3 and 10 page proposal. Now, what am I asking you for on this? On this research or idea proposal, I have a little bit more written up about it. I want you to tell me, this goes back to more of the academic model, but if you had a grant, what would you interrogate? What would you sell? If you had, a startup, how would you pitch your startup to me? If you could do anything, in big data, LLMs, chat GPTs, what would you do? That's your research proposal. There's a little bit more structure, a little bit more detail, but that's what I kind of want. What type of grant proposal would you do? What type of PhD would you do? What type of startup would you do? So that's kind of what I'm looking for in that. Your group teaching project, basically, what did you learn, or something that maybe you didn't learn that you want to teach the next generation of students about? This is vital. I phrase it as a kind of teach back or group teaching project, but it's really, in the real world, it's more than that. I told you, we have, I know at least 50 data scientists. Well, when I do something and they do something, or when I'm on a project they don't know how to attack, I have to be able to teach them, they have to be able to teach me. I know a data scientist that's just phenomenal at image and video segmentation. He blows me away from years. He graduated from MIT. The guy's a genius. You give him a video and he can figure out how to segment a plane flying through a sky using machine learning. I'm not that skilled. But there's something called digital twin, or a propensity model, where we don't have to give drugs to people. We just find people that are similar enough mathematically, and we create a digital twin of somebody. I do a lot of that type of work. So if he asked about digital twins, I would have to come up with maybe a 10 or 15 minute little video. Hey, here's what a digital twin is. Here's how we use it. Here's how it can save people's lives. And if I asked him about segmentation on a video, he would have to maybe come up with a 10 or 15 minute little presentation and teach me. So that is why I feel it's super valuable to kind of learn how to teach a basic concept. So that's kind of the teach back. The midterm, I'll give you guys a take-home midterm. My midterms have never been hard. My finals never been hard. You can take them home, blah, blah, blah. Again, as I said earlier, I'm probably going to make some of the homework assignments group, maybe a group of 2 or 3. And, this teaching project's a group project. Now, with that being said, when you work with group projects, I've taken classes here at UNLV. I know some group members suck. I'm not going to lie, they do. And some group members are phenomenal. And the great part about working in a group is you kind of have to figure out how to work with certain people. You have to kind of figure out their skills, and you have to kind of, make it happen. There are people at my work I don't enjoy working with, and there are people at my work I love working with. That's just the nature of business. So if I assign you a group project, and for some reason you have a problem with that person, or there's any issues, please contact me. The sooner the better. It doesn't look bad on you. It doesn't look bad on them. I can reassign groups. It's not that hard. And it happens all the time. So on the discussions, I expect the first post to be done by Thursday night. So the discussion will go up Monday or Tuesday if it's a holiday like today. But generally, even if it's a holiday, I release everything on Monday. But the first post goes up on Monday. You write your reply before Thursday. And then after Thursday, after everyone's had a time to write their prompt response, you must go back and write something else on one of your other students, on a coworker. Hey, I agree with this. It's a great idea. I never thought about this. Oh, this is a horrible idea because it will never work in this business. Okay? So that's kind of the way it is. Group project is a short paper on how data or how intelligence or how impacted an area of interest for you. Again, I'm not asking you to do a research project that interests me. I want to know, hey, if somebody gave you $1 million and said, hey, you had unlimited access to this type of data, what would you do? How would you convince me that your idea is sound? And that can happen because that's a big part of business. The teaching project, I explained, hey, here's a tool I want to share with the class. Standard grading scale. Let's keep going. Everything's on class, or online, I should say. There's no attendance. If you don't post a discussion, you get a 0. You don't do homework, you basically get a 0. So now, class assignments will need to be done and turned in individually. Don't cheat. That's bad. You can consult resources while doing assignments. You can use the internet. I'll talk about that a little more down some in a bit. There are some assignments that are group assignments. Again, work within your group. Now, do not miss any assignments. If you miss an assignment without a valid excuse, your grade becomes 0. It's simple. You miss it, it goes to 0. Now, if you miss it and you have a valid excuse, like a serious illness, you're participating in a sponsored event, please let me know, generally before it happens, but if not, no later than 7 days. I don't like to release homework. I don't like to post grades until after that 7 days. So for any reason, if you have to, you get COVID, you get RSV, you're super sick, you end up in the hospital, I understand. However, there's no reason, if you know that you have to fly out because you have a family member that's ill, you can't contact me. You should contact me before you fly out. Say, hey, Richard, I'm going to be in Wisconsin. I don't have a laptop. What can we do? We'll figure it out. That's the best way to handle things. The incorrect way to handle things is wait 2 weeks to after assignment says, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to email you. This happened. That's unprofessional. You'd basically be fired if you had a job like that. I just told my boss today, hey, I have a funeral to go to this week. She'll approve it. But now if I went to the funeral and then told her after the fact, I would probably get in trouble. You always want to be proactive. Okay? Also, I have a little poodle, and he's decided to help today. Class, this is Lucky. Lucky, this is class. Yep. Okay, Lucky, I have to continue. I think you wanted to read the syllabus to you. Okay, so library resources. I know we're living in a digital age with Google, but I can't stress enough how valuable the library and their resources are. They have a data guide, but both Patrick and Sue, I know, I've worked with, they're both great people. If you're having problems finding resources, you're having problems finding papers, you're having problems finding anything in this class or any class, talk to an expert. And these people are experts. Librarians aren't like these people that don't do anything. Librarians are information experts. Their job is to help you get the information you need. So I cannot stress how important it is to know your librarian, to work with your librarian, to know how to do an interlibrary loan, to be able to get PDFs, to be able to figure out what databases to use. It's so valuable. So while you may not need the library resources in this class, please get to know your librarian. Please allow them to help you find and answer your questions. Please. They're phenomenal at their job. Okay, university policies. A lot of this is online now, so I encourage you to go to the website to review it. It's unov.edu policy/students. Academic misconduct. Again, this is a serious issue, especially now that more classes are online. I sit on IRB, and for those of you who don't know what IRB is, we look at studies and we ensure that the study and the scientists are putting the patients first. I come from a biomedical background, and I believe in ethics and honesty and trust. These are fundamental core concepts, and I know sometimes in CS and data analytics, we don't stress this enough. But in the medical world and in bioinformatics, these are fundamental core pillars of education. So I expect you to all be very honest, to be very trusting and be super fair. I cannot stress this enough. We'll talk about that a little bit later now. I don't know if I have anybody auditing the class. I've audited classes before. It's great. If your cell phone goes off, you're at home by yourself, that's fine. It's an online class. Come on. Copyright. Remember, all the pictures you see on my slides, they're public domain. I try to respect copyright as much as humanly possible. Copyright is a very, very important thing. I publish books. I'm a co-author of a book that was just released last year. People steal things all the time. There's lawsuits right now between LLMs and the Wall Street Journal and New York Times and the Washington Post and a bunch of artists. Copyright is one of those things that's very, very much in flux. But at the basics of copyright is if you didn't write it and you copy and paste it, that's academic misconduct. Copyright, don't say because I'm a student I can use it. That's not legally correct. You have to know UNLV's copyright policy, and I recommend that you do. So I'll leave it at that. DRC, Disability Resource Center, they have a lot of tools, and they'll help you succeed if you have a disability. Your disability may not be physical. It could be, emotional. I suck at spelling. I'm registered with the DRC. I know it sounds dumb, but I'm registered with the DRC so I can use dictionaries in certain classes because I cannot spell. You may never have thought about this as an actual disability, but it is. So if you have problems in any of your classes, please contact the DRC. They can help you. Their job is to help you succeed. Okay? Final exam and study week. I highly respect study week. I want you to pass all your classes. I'm not the type of professor that doesn't give about, doesn't care about your other class. I do. I want you to succeed in everything you do. So, during study week, we have one thing we got to do, and that's it. So, if you need it incomplete, let me know. Here's all the policies on that. Here's library resources. Missed classwork again. Within the first 7 days of the course, if you have, or 14 days, if you need time off for a certain holiday, or you're not going to be online, things like this. If you have questions about it, let me know. We'll figure it out. Please use your Rebel mail, which is your unlv.edu or your nevada.unlv.edu email to communicate with me. I can't communicate with your Gmail account or your other types of accounts because of academic restrictions. So please keep that in mind. I don't know if there's actually a tutor for this class or not, but if you need help, my office hours are there. I'm willing to spend as much time as possible to help you get to the goal. Again, with recent events, UNLV has opened up a lot of additional resources, including a 24-hour, 7-day-week suicide line. There's emotional support, there's mental support, there's CAPS. All these services you pay for, so you might as well use them. Okay? And there's some students that have taken my class before. I'm the biggest proponent of diversity. I believe diversity makes us all stronger. Because we can't just have this cookie cutter idea to get to a goalpost. It will never work. The more diverse we are, the more ideas we have, the better we can integrate everything together and come up with a phenomenal product, a phenomenal education. Okay? So I implore you, please respect diversity. Please realize the value of diversity, both in humans and in computers and in nature and in everything. Diversity is what allows us to survive. And again, the land acknowledgement. So this is where are we at? 30 minutes. This is vitally important. So if you kind of fast forward, you got to slow down and pay attention to this. Okay, because this is different. So get your pen and paper. This is important. I allow you to use LLMs. I allow you to use ChatGPTs. I allow you to use Google Copilot. I'll say it again. I, Richard Young, the professor of this class, allow you to use, without getting in trouble, for my class, LLMs, ChatGPT, and Google Copilot. Now, these tools can be both good and bad. They may not always give you the correct answer. I use them. I use them here. I use them at work. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're not. So don't worry. You're allowed to use ChatGPT and LLMs without punishment, without any problems in this class. Now, when you do use them, you just have to say, use ChatGPT. Use Google Gemini. Use Bard. I don't care. Just put it at the very bottom, the last page, or, hey, I got some code help from Copilot. I got some code help from Colabs. As long as you acknowledge it, this way that, the university is happy, you just put it at the very bottom of whatever you're doing. Say, hey, ChatGPT, help me. I don't care. But please, 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 please acknowledge that you use, even if you just use it for a sentence or two. Obviously, my spelling is bad. I have ChatGPT, or I use Claudia. I have Claudia sometimes check my spelling. You just put at the very bottom, hey, Claudia.ai or anthropomorphic, check this for me. Now, failure to cite that you use ChatGPT will result in a 0 for that assignment. Okay? So I want to make sure you absolutely understand this. You're allowed to use ChatGPT. You can upload some Python code, say, hey, I can't figure this out, can you help me? You can upload a PDF and say, hey, what is sharding in terms of big data? What is clustering? What is a RAID hard drive configuration? What are the different levels of RAID? I'll help you use ChatGPT. I encourage you to use ChatGPT. I know that's unlike every other professor. In this class, you're allowed to use it. The caveat is A, you have to cite that you use an LLM. You use Claudia. I don't care how you do it or what you do. It doesn't have to be APA or anything. You just have to say, I use ChatGPT, I use BERT, I use Google, Gemini, whatever you use. I don't care. Copilot has code generated and built into it. You can literally say, hey, can you help me load a CSV into Pandas in Copilot? And boom, it will automatically generate the code for you. Okay, so I'm encouraging this. Now, you have to cite it. And again, this is only for my class. You have other classes in the College of Business. You have other classes in data analytics. That's up to them. This is only for my class. This is only for MIS 769 for this semester. For the next 16 weeks, you use ChatGPT. Okay, as long as you cite it. Now, a couple more caveats. Please do not upload real Social Security numbers, HIPAA data, sensitive data without approval. Okay. That information they can use it to train on sometimes. Okay, so just please be aware. If you use ChatGPT and you upload phone numbers, passwords, API keys, tokens, any of those things, that could go out to the public domain, and you don't want that. Okay, if you have any questions, ask me. Say, hey, can I do? I'll tell you. I don't care that you use ChatGPT. I use it all the time at work. I use it in this class. We're going to research it. Half this class is learning about ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT, just cite it. And again, don't upload sensitive information. Now, on that, this is a new section I just added. When we're dealing with generative AI, things can happen. You ask it for sharding is a great example. Sharding is a great example. Sharding is a way we can split data in big data. But if I was to ask ChatGPT what that is, it might give me an inappropriate result. Okay, because go to Urban Dictionary and Google sharding, and it has nothing to do with big data. So I want you to acknowledge that sometimes the results of a large language model, a generative AI, may not always be work safe. Now, luckily, we're in an academic setting, we have a little bit more freedom. But please remember that since large language models come from the internet, come from a diverse set of data, we have to kind of be careful what we ask, and because we might get inappropriate responses. We're going to talk about master and slave. Those are old terms, but master and slave hard drives or clusters or servers. You go to ChatGPT and type that in, you might get an inappropriate response. So please remember that we're going to be dealing with generative AI, and you might get, it might generate things that aren't appropriate. Again, you're doing this class at your home and at your leisure. Just keep that in mind. So the syllabus. I'll show you also where the syllabus is online. This is basically how the class, at least in my mind, is going to break down. Traditional big data is going to be about a quarter of the class. Traditional NLP, looking back, learning the terms, classifications of types of language maybe. Those are all going to be the first half of the class, the first 8 weeks or so. We're going to have a midterm. Don't worry, it's going to be take home. Maybe I'll ask you some questions. Life will be easy. You do your midterm. Then after that, I'm hoping we kind of break off and kind of really get into generative AI. We say, hey, let's translate this. Let's summarize. Let's do something fun. Okay. I do have readings, and the readings are in other classes I've taught traditionally. I make the students read before I give the lecture. I don't know if that's going to add value in this class or not. So the reading is basically what I'm going to cover in the didactic lectures. Okay. So this week I'm going to cover chapters 1 through 3.6 in the Big Data Fundamentals book, which I kind of linked down here. If I abbreviate it PDF, it is right here, PDF. If I abbreviate it LLM, it's the LLM book. If I the Transformers book. Okay, so that's kind of how it breaks out. Next week I'm going to go to chapters 4 to 6. Basically just a light overview of MapReduce. And you don't have to read the book, take notes, everything else. Just know the major concepts, know the major ideas. Okay. So that's kind of how the class breaks out in terms of each week. You see, once we hit the midterm, we're going to move away and we're going to do transfer learning. That's not, that's taking past data and applying it to maybe a new set. Prompting, fine-tuning. We're going to try to cover, I'm hoping to have 2 weeks of multimodal model generation, making images, making sound, making things like this. So generally each week I'll post a video, a lecture, between 30 and 60 minutes. I'll do some type of code demo, and then I have some homework. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't. If a lot of students are having problems with homework, I'll slow the class down. That's just a way to reading. Again, the discussion post you have to go this week is, hey, tell me your name, tell me what your major is, what are some of your hobbies, something like that. I'll show you how to access all this in a second. And then the response has to be done after Thursday, but before Sunday. So this just kind of keeps you logged into the course. It keeps you communicating with other students, and it shows me that, hey, you're taking an active interest in the course. There's 2 projects due at the end of the month. Do I have it? I have it on the assignments. So let's switch over to the actual class. Okay. So right here, I was trying to access About Me. Here's my cell phone. Just generally I'm more of a morning person, so if you text me at 5 or 6 a.m., that's fine. It's about 7. Here's my email. So, announcements and updates. This is where you find any updates, any changes, anything else. Discussion help. You find a lot of the discussions under the modules. The week-by-week plan is literally the syllabus. Yeah. This is an old one. Ah. Sorry, give me 1 second. There we go. So I think I was in the wrong class for a second. There we go. Okay, so week-by-week plan. Yeah, research idea due last day of the month, midterm. Group teaching due last day of the month. So this is all that the week-by-week is. It's the same thing that's on the syllabus. So you have announcements, you have discussions, you have modules. Modules is where most of the work will be done. It's in week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. Week by week. Educational resources, these are just, links I found, things that might be of interest to you. Here's a couple of collab basics. Here's this has a Microsoft, like a, kind of how you can do GPT fine-tune training faster at Microsoft. What is generative AI, just, stuff I find. Feel free, if you guys find something that's really interesting, please let me know, email me, I'll add it up here. This is just like a shared link page. So let's really dive into, and you can always find the syllabus right here, it's always on the side. Let's dive into modules. So here's module 1. So week 1, the introduction, which is the discussion, you can tell by this little thing right here, extra credit, and the syllabus quiz. So this will be hot linked to what's this syllabus setup and class review. So you click on this and we'll go to Pompeius, or I upload everything to YouTube because I know a lot of people prefer YouTube because it can fast forward easier. You can do like subtitles if you want. You can watch on YouTube. I don't care. Intro to big data. That's just going to be the didactic part, with a little PDF. And then getting set up. This is going to show you how to sign up for collabs, sign up to Hugging Face, and any other requirements you might need. The discussion's right here. I don't know if it will. I guess it is loading. So yeah, there'll be my reply right below it. But again, boom. So this has to be done by Thursday. I'll give you some leeway of the first week, but after the first week, no more leeway. So just reply to this, and then after Thursday, come back and reply to somebody else. Says, hey, I like camping too. I like cars. Whatever you need to do. Let me go back to the module. You see, I spend most of the time in the modules. So each week I'm going to post, I'm going to try to post extra credit. So extra credit is just going to be, I'm going to try to make it more of a scientific article that you can read if you want. It's extra credit, you don't have to. And basically write up like a paragraph, 3-4 sentences, doesn't have to be crazy. And that you really can't use ChatGPT because I want you to write it up. Just explain, I don't care about spelling, I don't care about any of that, but I want you to write why that article is important or how that article is changing GPTs or changing big data. Now, why am I doing that? Because in the business world, a lot of times there's not a lot of research. Research is not always super valuable. I know some of the data scientists I work with are not interested in research at all. Some of them are very active in research. But research is fundamental to understand what is changing about this field. What are we likely to see in 5 years? What are we likely to see in 5 months? Okay, so I'll post some type of, I don't want to say nerdy, but some type of article there. If you want to write it up and just reply and email it to me, 5 points, extra credit. That assignment's a pass-fail. If you do it and write a couple sentences up, it's easy. And that's more for people that want to learn more in depth about the topic we're talking about. And then the quiz, I'm just going to count this as homework. Again, I'm not going to quiz you on things I just don't believe in quizzing. So since this class has so many students, it's hard for me to grade a lot of homework. So I'm going to try to make the homework more in a quiz style. This quiz, I think, is 2 or 3 questions. I'll give you the answers right now. I confirm that I've downloaded and reviewed the syllabus, and I acknowledge that I understand that its content's true. I know that in this class I can use GPT, but in other classes I can't. True. Submit quiz, you're done. My quizzes aren't there to test you on anything. Okay. I'll have one more quiz that says, hey, I set up, Colab and Hugging Face. I did everything I need to. Boom. So the quizzes aren't going to test your knowledge on stuff. They're there just to make sure that you did things, that I don't have to sit there and grade 40 students' paperwork. So if you have questions, please let me know. Again, about me, there's my cell phone number. Feel free to text me. There's my email. Feel free to shoot me an email. I check my email multiple times a day. So, again, welcome to Big Data Analytics. Don't stress. My goal is to help you get through this. My goal is to teach you. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. So, thank you again.